This comeback is one for the history books. Getting canceled can be a career-ending event for most, but some manage to bounce back stronger than ever because instead of hiding or apologizing excessively, they hold their ground and double down on their beliefs, winning over new supporters who admire their courage. And today we're going to cover the epic comeback of Shane Gillis and how he managed to turn around a really difficult situation. But before I go on with the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more discussions just like this.
This may be probably the shortest Saturday Night Live tenure in the show's long history.
Tonight, a Saturday Night Live comic is out just 4 days after he was introduced as a new cast member.
Tonight, comedian Shane Gillis is out of a job.
A Saturday Night Live shakeup, the show firing one of its new cast members before he even appeared on the broadcast.
SNL just fired new cast member Shane Gillis after video of him making racist and homophobic slurs on a podcast were found online.
Imagine working tirelessly for years, putting in long hours, making sacrifices, and pushing yourself day in and day out, all to finally reach the break that could have taken your career to the next level. You've earned it, right? But just as you secure that opportunity, the mob swoops in with their outrage campaign, and suddenly everything you've worked for is gone. That's exactly what happened with Shane Gillis, who was hired as a cast member for Saturday Night Live. A huge break for any comedian, but within days of the announcement, old clips of his making edgy jokes surfaced, sparking outrage. Instead of allowing a conversation or giving him a chance to explain, the mob labeled him as a racist and a homophobe and went straight into cancel mode. The pressure mounted, and SNL had no choice but to cave in, firing him before he even got to step on stage. Watch him describe how he felt about it next.
What was your experience like with the whole SNL debacle thing? What was that like?
It's very, very crazy. I don't know. It's tough to. There's not many people that you can even talk to about it. You know, because it up a little. You just it was kind of surreal because I was one of the first people to get like canceled or however you want to say it, consequences. However you want to say it. Doesn't matter what we call it. It is what it is.
Right.
But I was one of the first people to go from I was poor. I was not famous at all. I was poor, and then I got canceled immediately. Like that was my
right.
It was a very different
get
experience.
Famous and then get canceled.
Most people that get canceled are
You got canceled on the way.
I got canceled immediately.
Yeah.
This podcast was 2 years after the events, but it appears that as the story came out, SNL tried to force him into issuing an apology because he initially sent out a tweet saying, quote, "I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. I sometimes miss. If you go through my 10 years of comedy, most of it is bad. You're going to find a lot of bad misses. I'm happy to apologize to anyone who's actually offended by anything I've said. My intention is never to hurt anyone, but I am trying to be the best comedian I can be, and sometimes that requires risks." A couple days later, it was official that he was fired from the show. He sent out another tweet to follow up. "It feels ridiculous for comedians to be making serious public statements, but here we are. I'm a comedian who was funny enough to get SNL. That can't be taken away." Many big comedians were quick to defend him. Among them is none other than Bill Burr.
Can also try to look at good things that the person might have done, or are they just looking for the bad stuff? Is it you just scroll through, help cat out of a tree? That's not it. Help grandmother walk across the street? That's not it. You know, said something on a podcast. There it is.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, you could do that. You could honestly do that to anybody. So I don't get it. And then I don't get if you say something like that, you can't work in a sketch show, but like it's okay from what? He can work at a lumber yard? Yeah. You know? He's certainly going to meet more Asians there, right? Then on SNL, it's a joke about how SNL's not hiring Asians. Jesus Christ.
Also,
now I'm in trouble?
Yeah.
We're not running for office. When is this going to end?
That is completely true. The mob loves to play detective, digging up old comments, tweets, or jokes from years ago as if they've discovered some hidden treasure. But here's the thing, social norms change over time and so do people's views. What might have been acceptable or simply overlooked years ago is now considered offensive by today's standards. That doesn't mean the person who made these comments hasn't grown or changed since then. You see, the dangerous thing about cancel culture is that it ignores all those things and focuses instead on attacking people for things they have said or did when the world was different. Even Andrew Yang saw how ridiculous this entire fiasco was and defended Shane on multiple occasions. Watch what he said during one of his CNN interviews.
Now, you tweeted yesterday about what it feels like to be called these horrific racial slurs, but you also said that you forgive the comedian and you hope others can as well. As one of the most prominent Asian American political figures, did you feel any special responsibility to try to reflect what others in the Asian American community are feeling, or were you just speaking for yourself?
Well, there have been a number of reactions to my call for forgiving Shane Gillis, and I've experienced a lot of anti-Asian racism throughout my upbringing, and it hurts. And it's something that's very real. And I do think anti-Asian racial epithets are not taken as seriously as slurs against other groups. But at the same time, bigger picture, I believe that our country has become excessively punitive and vindictive about remarks that people find offensive or racist, and that we need to try and move beyond that if we can, particularly in a case where the person, is in this case, to me, like a comedian whose words should be taken in a slightly different light.
The woke culture overlooks a fundamental truth. Comedy thrives on free speech. Its beauty lies in the ability to push boundaries, challenge norms, and yes, sometimes make people uncomfortable. But that discomfort is part of what drives conversation and in many cases change. The problem with the woke crowd is that they focus too narrowly on whether a joke aligns with today's acceptable speech, missing the bigger picture of what comedy is supposed to do. Rob Schneider shares a similar view, and he took to Twitter where he posted, quote, "As a former SNL cast member, I'm sorry that you had the misfortune of being a cast member during this era of cultural unforgiveness where comedic misfires are subject to the intolerant inquisition of those who have never risked bombing on stage themselves." By the way, we do have an upcoming video about Rob's bold statements against how woke society has become, so make sure to drop a like and subscribe to stay in the loop, but there is good in this story because it paved the way for Shane Gillis's amazing comeback.
What percentage of your viewership go up after the article?
It probably doubled. Yeah. Since the months after SNL, our listenership probably quadrupled. Yeah, for sure. Because then people heard about it and watched it.
So it's helped the podcast.
Like, this is actually funny.
So it's helped the podcast.
Tremendously.
In the 5 years that followed his cancellation, Shane's career has reached levels that no one could have ever imagined. Let's look at some of the numbers, shall we? As well as today, his podcast has around 130 million total views. He also launched a sketch comedy show on YouTube, which has a total viewership of around 109 million, with 4 of them having more than 7 million views, which does happen to be above the average number for SNL, by the way. He also has 2 comedy specials, one of them on Netflix. The streaming platform also acquired his independently produced sitcom, Tires, which, according to Screen Rant, rocketed to number 7 on Netflix's chart with over 3 million views for the week of May 20 to 2026, which was the first week of its release. And being the smart company that they are, Netflix renewed the series for season 2, in addition to Shane getting another stand-up special, which is expected to debut in 2025. Even Bud Light partnered with him as the company is on its own arc of redemption after having lost over billions of dollars in sales in 2023 due to them choosing to go woke in their ads and the subsequent boycotts. I think it's safe to say that Shane's advertisements played a huge role in painting the image that the company admitted it was wrong and chose to go back to its roots. It's become obvious that the once canceled comedian has become a force of nature in the industry. That's why back in February of this year, SNL announced he'll be hosting an episode for them, and it was a great episode, by the way. Watch Shane describe the situation during his appearance on another Joe Rogan podcast.
Did it feel like a rite of passage? What did it feel like for you?
It's a cool win. It's a cool closing on the story.
I think it's nice for that. I mean, obviously, it just brought the story back up again.
Yeah.
But you were defended quite a bit.
But it was also, it's like, honestly, this was like them saying sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what it was. I think it's good, like, if we're going to talk about all the, like, culture, I think it's cool they brought me back, and it's cool I said yes. I think it's a nice moment for
everybody.
Because I don't want to be you don't want to be a guy that's like, everybody that said f me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, all right,
I don't want to do that.
Let's
It's like,
go
can
on.
we just stop? And that's what they offered the olive branch. They were the ones who were like,
they should.
It's great.
And they should. They did the right thing.
This is the type of closure you see in the fairy tale stories, that it came full circle. The thing is, when SNL fired him 5 years ago, they tried to frame it as a failure in their vetting process. But Shane's comedy hasn't changed at all since, which proves the level of hypocrisy the industry runs on. As expected, the lamestream media wasn't too happy with it and tried to frame the episode as a failure. Vulture released an article titled "Why Shane Gillis Bombed on SNL." Inside Hook's title was a bit longer. The Shane Gillis SNL episode offered a lazy, smirking alternate reality, and the cherry on top was to CNN, where they released an opinion piece titled "Shane Gillis' Turn on SNL Shows That All Too Often Bigotry Sells." But as the legend he is, Shane showed the world the level of comedy he brings to the table, and people loved it. proving that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What are your thoughts on this? Let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below, and please share this video with your friends if you want to keep them informed.